my Big 12 power rankings heading into week 2 in the Big 12. You can see the ranking last week where I had them, which was before the season, just a preseason Big 12 power ranking there. So bottom of the table here, UCF, not as bad a performance as some people would have thought. I mean, they lost their starting quarterback at Jacksonville State, was good last year. Obviously, Rich Rod knows something about that. West Virginia fans know something about that. That was a conference, that was an FBS conference champ that they lost to, or that they beat in a close game. But I still think relative to everybody else, I had UCF at 15 anyway. Only thing that changed there is Arizona jumped up. Like, out of that bottom group, Arizona impressed me. I know that Hawaii had a quarterback injury and, their QB was kind of running around on one leg, but I still didn't think Arizona could go out and thump a team that I just watched beat a Power 4 team in Stanford like that right away. You can tell I had Arizona last. My hopes are very, very low. Very, very low for the Wildcats and Brent Brennan this year. That was a sign of life. They made changes at both coordinator spots, lost some more talent in the portal, but, maybe that change in coordinators really did them some good. Maybe Brent Brennan just getting his feet under him a little bit more. We'll see. We'll see how that continues on there. But I was impressed, at least early. Not going to kill Colorado. In fact, I thought maybe, in a sense, they looked more competent in some ways than I thought. Now they're going to have to defend the run better. It's the same story as with Baylor. They just got bludgeoned to death by the quarterback run game. That can't be something that happens every single week. But by the same token, I don't know that you're going to run into a lot of teams that will be able to do it quite the same way. Like Haynes King, he's not going to survive doing that. Colin Klein at K-State didn't even survive doing that. He made it about 10 or 11 weeks before it really caught up to him. But I don't know if everyone's going to be able to do that to Colorado. I think they at least looked more put together than I imagined to be in that game, right? And I know Georgia Tech turned it over 3 times. I've seen some power rankings this week with K-State down at 15 or 16. And to be honest, I've got no issue with that at all. The reason I keep them there at 10, one, I think if I'm going to put Iowa State at the top here, then I've got to say, K-State was right there. They played a 1-possession game with Iowa State. If they get one defensive stop on a 4th and 3 play with just a couple minutes left in the game, they're going to be driving with a chance to win. So I don't think they're as bad as they showed last week. And when you put on tape a neutral site game against Iowa State that was that close, I think I still do have to recognize that as being a team that's not at the very bottom of this league. Okay. I have plenty of doubts about K-State. It's obviously as a title contender. I don't feel great about that in any way, shape, or form. But I'm going to leave them at 10 for that reason. Cincinnati, tough, gritty performance, especially from Brendan Sorsby. They're driving with a chance to tie the game against Nebraska late. I was surprised by that. Baylor obviously drops to 8. I had them in the Big 12 championship game. Changed my tune a little bit on that, at least for now. I guess I reserve the right. Maybe I should hold to that a little bit more, not overreact too much. Hopefully, Baylor is not going to get thrown around like that physically by everybody in the Big 12. They very well may not. BYU moves up a couple spots just because, Bear Bachmeier looked in control. BYU's defense, they did everything you'd want them to do against a completely overmatched team in Portland State. Kansas bumped up a couple spots. That's largely based on the Fresno game, not the Wagner game. Fresno State thought they looked awesome. The offense really humming and clicking. Jalen Daniels, probably the most important thing. Looks like the guy that played in 2022 and part of 23. Texas Tech, I was going into it. I was like, I'm probably going to have to move Tech up, I guess, because they were just so dominant. But it was Arkansas Pine Bluff. And when I started thinking about teams in front of them, I'm like, look, Tech, if you just replicate that performance for another 2-3 weeks, once you start playing competition that has more of a pulse, you're going to move up. And Tech certainly looked the part. But the resume right now holds them back just because it's Arkansas Pine Bluff. Arizona State, I already dropped them 3 spots. They're the defending champs. They won a game by 3 scores. It's hard, I think, to punish them too much more than that. But I tried to really reward here TCU, Utah, and Iowa State, who I think by far have the most impressive resumes in the Big 12 so far. And for Iowa State, They were the runner-up in the conference last year. They already have a win on a neutral site against who was, according to the coaches and the media, in the unofficial polls, the preseason favorite in the Big 12. And then the thing that really drives it home for me is that they had the discipline and the toughness to just go take South Dakota, a good FCS program, to the woodshed after traveling back from Ireland. Like, they made an international trip, an easy turnaround to just kill a pretty good FCS team. And we saw across the league what can happen against FCS competition. Like, see how they handled it versus how K-State handled it. That tells me a lot about kind of a championship medal that Iowa State seems to have. So I think resume-wise, that's why I land there. Utah completely pummeled UCLA. Hard to know exactly what UCLA is. I feel like they'll be probably about what they were last year, which they were 5-7 last year. Maybe that's like a 6-6 team with Nico, maybe. But Utah completely demolished them. TCU did the same thing to North Carolina. Like I said, only thing I'm doing there, and what's the difference between those two? I felt like, to me, UCLA looked like a slightly higher quality team, even though nearly impossible to tell. Those are pretty interchangeable. Utah, TCU at 2-3. So not meant to be a disrespect, Frogs. Not meant to be a disrespect. But that's where I've got your Big 12 power rankings here after week 1, heading into week 2. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. You can still drop me a super chat. Click the $sign below the chat box in order to do that. If you want to be a part of the show, guarantee your question or comment makes it on tonight. But let me know in the regular comments what you guys think of all this. Let's see. John B. Real, West Virginia looked better than K-State. West Virginia turned the ball over 4 times, Joe, against Robert Morris. I also have not seen West Virginia play Big 12 competition. And like I said, K-State played a 1-possession game with the team that I have number 1 right now. So it's really just a matter of more like incomplete on West Virginia. And like they need to clean it up a lot more. I don't think you can be turning it over 4 times and expecting to win once you hit Big 12 play, or probably even this week once you go to Ohio, who gave Rutgers a hell of a scare in Piscataway. I mean, that was a 3-point game. So West Virginia, I obviously got it figured out in the second half. When they weren't turning it over, they looked very good. But it's Robert Morris. I'll put it this way, Joe, I think that point would carry a lot of weight had K-State not had the week 0 game. If it were just week 1 and K-State had a last minute comeback to beat North Dakota at home, and we were comparing that with the Bobby Moe game, the Robert Morris game for West Virginia, then that would have a lot more merit. But I've seen K-State play a legitimate conference title contender in this league, and they were close. It was a frustrating game, frustrating to see them lose, and I think they lost because they're not nearly as tough as Iowa State in large part. But I can't give West Virginia the edge just based on that, but maybe they'll get there. I'm not saying they can't get there. I wouldn't put anything beyond K-State the way K-State played last week. I wouldn't put anything beyond what K-State could be. I really don't know what to expect. And the thing with K-State's game this week, like K-State's got Army this week. When Chris Kleiman's sitting there railing on the team's eye discipline, that being the biggest problem on defense and why they're giving up 35 points in North Dakota, it's going to require a hell of a lot of discipline to play Army in a triple option attack. That sure doesn't seem like a great recipe to me. So I'm pretty nervous about it. The line keeps crawling in K-State's direction. It's 17.5 now. It started at like 15.5. So I don't know. People seem to like it. Army lost to Tarleton State last week, but as my guy Cole Manbeck pointed out on the 3 Mile podcast, Tarleton State is better than North Dakota. At least they were last year. That was a better team last year than what North Dakota was. So I don't exactly know what to think about what K-State's going to do this week against Army. But you can tune in. Here's the great thing about it, guys. It'll be on ESPN. It'll be on good old ESPN. So the nation will get to see it. And boy, am I excited about that.